I never believed in ghosts. Never. The very idea seemed absurd to me, a relic of superstitions from a bygone era. Ghosts were just stories people told to entertain themselves or to scare children into behaving. I prided myself on being a rational thinker, someone who relied on logic and evidence. I scoffed at spooky stories. I laughed at haunted houses. To me, they were just old buildings with creaky floors and drafty windows. The eerie sounds people heard were nothing more than the house settling or the wind whistling through cracks. I found it amusing how easily people could let their imaginations run wild. My friends? They knew I was a skeptic. They loved to tell me about haunted places. Every time we gathered, especially around a campfire or during a sleepover, they would share the latest ghost story they had heard. They would describe shadowy figures, unexplained noises, and cold spots with such conviction. They wanted to scare me. I always played along. I would listen intently, nodding at the right moments, but inside I was rolling my eyes. It was a game we played, a ritual of sorts. They would try to spook me, and I would pretend to be intrigued, all the while planning my next witty retort. It was fun to see them get worked up. One night, they dared me. They had been talking about the Norp House for weeks, building it up as the ultimate haunted location. They said it was the most terrifying place in town, a place where even the bravest souls hesitated to go. They wanted to visit Norp House. It was an old abandoned place, the kind of place that looked like it had stepped out of a horror movie. Broken windows, overgrown weeds, and an air of neglect that made it seem like it was holding on to secrets from the past. People whispered about it being haunted. I didn't believe them, of course. To me it was just another dilapidated building, a victim of time and neglect. But the stories persisted. Tales of ghostly apparitions, strange lights, and eerie sounds that defied explanation. But a challenge? I couldn't resist. Fine, I said. Let's go. I was eager to prove them wrong, to show them that there was nothing to fear. I wanted to walk through the house, point out the logical explanations for every creak and groan, and emerge victorious. Let's see these ghosts. Secretly, I was already planning how to debunk whatever we found. I had my flashlight, my camera, and a notebook to document everything. I was ready to face whatever the night had in store, confident that I would leave with my skepticism intact. I was going to have some fun with this. I imagined the looks on my friends' faces when I exposed the so-called hauntings as mere tricks of the mind. It was going to be a night to remember, but not for the reasons they thought. Norp House was miles from town. It was a local legend. People said a family died there, tragically, mysteriously. No one knew the full story, but everyone agreed. The house was cursed. My friends were nervous as we set out. Good, this was more like it. As we drove, they told me stories, each one more terrifying than the last. I listened, amused. Part of me enjoyed their fear. We finally reached the turnoff. A dirt road led to the house. Tall, dark trees pressed in on either side. The headlights barely cut through the darkness. The car bumped along the rough road. The woods grew thicker, the air grew colder. Even I felt a shiver. This place was isolated, desolate. It was the perfect setting for a ghost story. We parked a distance from the house. Didn't want to get stuck. As we stepped out, silence fell. Heavy, absolute silence. It was broken only by our own breathing. "See?" I whispered, trying to lighten the mood. Not so scary, right? But even as I said it, I felt a prickle of unease. This place, it felt different, wrong somehow. We started walking towards the house. The moon was hidden behind clouds. Our flashlights danced over the trees, creating flickering shadows that seemed to writhe and twist. Then we heard it, a shuffling sound, coming from the trees ahead. We stopped, listening intently. The sound came again, closer this time. "What was that?" one of my friends whispered, his voice tight with fear. Before anyone could answer, an armadillo scurried out of the bushes. We all jumped. I laughed, relieved. "Just an armadillo," I said, but my heart was pounding. The house loomed before us, casting long, eerie shadows in the moonlight. It stood like a sentinel of forgotten times, a relic of a bygone era. It was a two-story Victorian, once grand and majestic. Now, its paint was peeling. revealing the bare wood beneath. Windows were boarded up as if trying to hide the secrets within. The front porch sagged precariously, its wooden planks rotting and unstable. It seemed to groan under the weight of its own history. The whole place screamed, "Stay away!" It was as if the house itself was alive, warning intruders to keep their distance. We cautiously approached the front door, each step echoing in the stillness of the night. The air was thick with anticipation and dread. It creaked open with a groan, the sound reverberating through the empty halls. It was as if the house was reluctantly allowing us entry. The smell hit us first, musty, decaying. It was the scent of time standing still, of memories long forgotten, like something had died inside. We stepped inside, our footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust on the floor. The air was heavy with dust, particles dancing in the beam of our flashlight. It was like walking through a forgotten dream. Cobwebs hung from every corner, draping the room in a shroud of neglect. They clung to the furniture, turning it into ghostly shapes. Floorboards creaked ominously under our weight, each step a reminder of the house's fragile state. I shone my flashlight around. The place was trashed. Furniture was overturned, as if a storm had swept through. Pictures lay shattered on the floor, their frames broken and glass scattered. They were remnants of a life once lived here. It looked like whoever left here, left in a hurry. Drawers were pulled out, their contents strewn across the floor. It was as if they had fled from something unseen, something terrifying. One of my friends, Mark, had brought a Ouija board. He thought it would be fun. I rolled my eyes. "You're kidding, right?" I said. "That thing is just a toy." But Mark was insistent. We gathered around an old, dusty table. The only piece of furniture still upright. We placed our fingers on the planchette. The air felt charged, electric. Even I felt a shiver run down my spine. "Is anyone there?" Mark asked, his voice hushed. We waited. Silence. Then it moved. The planchette jerked slightly, then it began to glide across the board. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. It spelled out a word. "Leave." We stared at each other, eyes wide with fear. "This isn't funny, guys," I said, my voice trembling, but even as I said it, I knew. This was no joke. Something was here, with us. The planchette spelled out another word, danger. And then, the room grew cold, freezing cold. We could see our breath misting in the air. The flashlight flickered and died. We were plunged into darkness. "We need to get out of here." The air was thick with fear, and every shadow seemed to move with a life of its own. The walls felt like they were closing in, and the darkness was almost suffocating. Someone screamed. It was chaos. The sound of shattering glass and the thud of footsteps echoed through the halls. It felt like the house itself was alive, feeding off our terror. We scrambled to our feet, knocking over the table and sending the Ouija board flying. The board spun through the air, its planchette clattering to the floor as if the spirits we had summoned were now chasing us. We stumbled over each other in the darkness, desperate to escape. Every step felt like a struggle, our legs heavy with fear. The floorboards creaked ominously beneath us, adding to the sense of dread. I could hear my friends ahead of me, their panicked cries echoing through the house. Their voices were a lifeline, guiding me through the pitch-black corridors. But the fear in their voices only heightened my own terror. I ran blindly, my heart pounding in my chest. Each beat felt like a drum, urging me to move faster. My breath came in ragged gasps, and my mind raced with thoughts of what might be lurking in the shadows. I didn't know if I believed in ghosts before. Skepticism had always been my shield against the unknown, but now, in the heart of this haunted house, that shield was crumbling. But now I wasn't so sure. Every creak, every whisper of wind felt like a spectral presence. The line between reality and the supernatural blurred, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew. We burst out of the house and into the night. The cold air hit us like a wave, a stark contrast to the oppressive atmosphere inside. It was a relief, but the fear still clung to us like a second skin. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. The streetlights flickered ominously, casting long shadows that seemed to reach out for us. Our footsteps echoed in the still night, a reminder of the terror we had just escaped. We piled in, slamming the doors behind us. The car felt like a sanctuary, a barrier between us and whatever horrors lurked in that house. We locked the doors, our breath still coming in frantic gasps. We were safe. For now. The engine roared to life and we sped away into the night, leaving the haunted house behind. But the memory of that night would haunt us forever, a chilling reminder of the unknown. We sat in the car for a moment, catching our breath. No one spoke. The silence was broken only by our ragged breathing. Finally, I started the car. We sped away from Knorp House, back into the night. The drive home was a blur. I don't remember much of it. I just remember the fear, the feeling that we were being watched, followed. As we drove, we heard strange noises, a tapping on the roof, a scratching on the windows. We didn't dare look. We just drove. Faster and faster. We finally made it back to town. We went our separate ways. No one said much. What was there to say? We had seen, we had felt, we had experienced something that defied explanation. I haven't been back to Knorp House since that night. I don't think I ever will. But the memory of that night, it stays with me. It haunts me. What did we experience that night? Was it real? Or was it all in our heads? I don't have the answers, but I know this. I'm not laughing at ghost stories anymore. That night changed me. It chipped away at my skepticism. It opened my eyes to the possibility that there are things in this world, things we don't understand, things that go bump in the night. I still consider myself a skeptic. But now there's a sliver of doubt, a whisper of fear. Because I know that some things can't be explained away. And sometimes it's best not to ask too many questions.